On this edition of Askew, we're presenting an Eclectic Focus, a poetic response to photographs from the Vernon Collection that was recently exhibited at the Santa Barbara Museum of Art. The poets, Barry Spacks, David Oliveira, Chryss Yost, and M.L. Williams. David Oliveira is the first poet laureate of Santa Barbara, California. He was the co-editor of Solo, Poetry Journal, and How Much Earth, the Fresno Poets Poetry Anthology. Barry Spacks teaches at UC Santa Barbara and taught many years at MIT. His most extensive poetry journal is Spacks Street, New and Selected Poems from John Hopkins. Chryss Yost is on the faculty at the Teaching Poetry Institute in Santa Rosa and is an associate editor of Solo Poetry Journal. M.L. Williams is teaching at Valdosta State University in Georgia and was co-editor of How Much Earth, the Fresno Poets Poetry Anthology. The photographs are from the collection of Leonard and Marjorie Vernon and are reproduced here with the permission of the Vernons. And now, an Eclectic Focus.
You think he is tired, resting on the success of how many high steps he has managed on such a hot day, at his age, with flat feet and an aching back turned against counting how many steps remain. You think he is lazy, each step an excuse that keeps him away from a dirty floor and sink full of dishes. You think intent has slipped from him, and that now he is lost to know if the plan was to carry him up or bring him down, or take him just here, the perfect distance between stars, to follow the ash of his ambitions blow slowly across the sky. You think he is happy, or you think he has despaired of happiness, or you think he has no feelings, and stares to where colors and smells leak from most of life's moments, watching emptiness fill the memories used to get this far. You think he is thinking what you are thinking. And of course you are right. That is it. That is it exactly. The sun rose to small clouds marring a perfect ascent. The cold rain of morning abandoned the sky to a thin yellow light that cast its uncertainty into the shape of an elm across the barn's aging wall. This was the first day her shovel would rest against the backyard fence, the last day she would consider weather in the plan for tomatoes in her garden. Already her eyes were growing into the color of the first memory that would betray her. If wisdom is love for the world despite what we know, she was wise and did not notice those signs so obvious now, portending the great sadness to come. Instead, her attention turned toward a mockingbird beginning breakfast, and to the bright pink bud of a plum tree ready to flower, to the scent of water slipping from blades of grass into the growing dirt, and to the small words she picked from sunlight to remind herself later of so much happiness. If I tell you these bare pipes and walls are the skeleton of a building, you will hear a hope for human life in the words for wire and steel and cement. Possibly think it is my life, or more likely yours. And though you are right to expect hope, this story is only about this building, and not one more clever musing to show how minutes stack on top of minutes until a day is built, until a person is made from the sum of so many finished days. A building at this stage could be for anything, but in this neighborhood, we expect commerce. These might be fashionable stores to dress us in the smartest colors of the season, galleries for the newest art, shops for the oldest books, beautiful places to eat beautiful food, at tables where the beautiful rest from their shopping. Above might be offices, the busyness of moving paper from room to room so we can track the losses and gains that tell us how we are doing to one another. A building is not particular about its use. The day after the August day this one is finished, the windows and walls will stop expecting construction workers to come back. None ever will. The building will not be lonely. Every day, 1,000 people will open and close 1,000 doors. But since they have seen buildings before, none will stop to admire this stone facade or notice the care which matches the carpets to the colors on the walls. None will suspect hands behind the panels joining the right wire to the right wire, the right pipe to the right pipe. Today is a Sunday. Construction rests. At first I look only at thin clouds overhead and think rain will be wasted here. Just enough water to tickle desire out of seeds before the small life to which they aspire is drowned in a flood of concrete. I try to imagine this place as it must have appeared once, as a great meadow with rivulets to carry melting snow to wildflowers every spring and happy tunes for birds to teach their children. The only birds that show up now are pigeons, and what little cooing they do fills time on the streets between pecks for food. I said this story is about this building, and you should not expect in the sly ways of storytelling that it wants to be about something else. An explanation, for example, of some absence that has risen into a hardness around me or you. Still, you must have noticed people have found their way into the words here and there. This is what people do, fitting into spaces where we have been left out. Look at the idle crane, the black windows, the egalitarian pipes carrying nothing. Look at the cables, the lumber, the ladders, the hoses. Do you see the people waiting there? Do you see the people everywhere waiting?
We take a running start and leap into the vast gray cotton sky, with our hair slicked back by our mothers, with the double dares of brothers. Jumping beans, trampolines, we leap. We step closer to the edge and leap by choice, wish to dive, and still we find our thin arms flapping. We must fly, or else break trying. One day in summer, your splash in the river won't be enough to hold the girl swimming underneath you, breaking the skin of the water. There is no secret to flight. Our parachutes in place, we're pushed, but if they open every time, well, there goes our glory. Every sucker in the state will jump. Will she think you're still hot stuff? Pull. Clay pigeons slingshot toward the sky, and bang, they shatter into it. Sitting in the sun with you, nothing heavy enough to hold us here. We leap into the arms of angels, shimmer like the sun, slip between God's misty fingers. We take the shape of clouds. We fly long enough for the camera to capture our belief in flight. And even then, we are already falling. Killing time. We are waiting for the sun. Smooth and round stone he finds and glides across the pulsing water. Lunch unfolds from wax paper and the sound of gulls wanting and the waves rubbing sand from the stone, like this. The pieces of bread he throws and the rolls of his shirt sleeves bunched around his elbows as he leans down, holding a glass of water with a white straw and ice in it. His shirt white, his sleeves rolled in dark creases, bleached driftwood hands. My hair a dark curve with no shadow and no end. The camera watches the sun fall. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, killing time, and you believe he loves me. From my window over Hollywood, my back to the TV, the lights are fingers that promise to hold us, but never bent. And you, on to your next lead. Your words are nothing but a ticket stub in the pocket of my jacket. Myself at last in love with you, and all my fortune gone. Such drama, such spectacle our lives become, our drinks, our food, our clothes, our time. Not selling out, but buying in to everything that everyone could want. Each kiss was cash for us at first. Every dinner felt front page, lights, celebrations to the city where we spent our nights in 2-story high embraces. Perfect for each other and the camera, until even we believed it for a while. This is the day which the girl hath made, this hill her mountain to conquer, this stick her staff, and every creature willing to still for her. This is the day which the girl caught up. In it put butterflies, dragonflies, moths. In it put lizards and flowering moss, pollen on the legs of bumblebees, her father who pedals a bicycle, and her mother with a silver cat. This is the girl who has found the day, all window, all view, all key, and no locks rusting shut.
My photograph of Julia Cameron's photograph of Mrs. Herbert Duckworth, née Julia Jackson, later Mrs. Leslie Stephen, Virginia Woolf's mother, with or without child. This is what is, the world, its shadows blurred through silver nitrate and developer into grains of what we want to say is real, caught, interred on paper, a face rescued from time or given to it, rhymed with her own daughter's face, Virginia Woolf's you see on books. But this her mom in profile too, important yet not so terrorized by fame to show the presence of the book's stiff jacket collaring her inside. Mrs. Jackson, Duckworth, Stephen, Julia isn't caught on film. She's saved, not by lens and paper washed into a dream of being against all time, but by her look away from all who see her there, posing pensively as though, out of this newfangled device remembered, she was seeing where her troubled daughter should have been, yet wasn't. The picture captures best what isn't there. And so I look and make. My 1,000 words are written on the frame. Factory reflected in the river. Under the smoke and clatter of lathes grinding iron to spark, under the thick arms of line workers bearing loads from belt to cauldron, bones forged to beams and sheets of iron, hearts cocked with coke and asbestos against the fire burning all around. What does the shadow factory build? Everything we want, without a single pebble to shatter all its windows, collapse its churning smokestacks into the current that delivers its goods, always late, always in unprofitable light. Moonrise, Hernandez, New Mexico. More dead than living here. More clouds in the sky than snow on the horizon, and that stone moon looking dead-eye on, and that tiny white cross over the church witnessing this night's prayer of sage the fence hears in confidence and passes along. The wind here shapes it all like that. 3, church, Rancho de Taos. What God requires such thick white walls? Do they protect you from the ransacking wind, its scythe of desert light crouching in the glare of dried grass? Or do they hold you in, keep you burnishing the cobbles of souls who enter under the altar to worship out of the light and burning weather of your giving? 4, White Shed, Gaspé, Quebec. Gray boards of the siding settle under the sky. Gray staves like fingers cup their black waters. Gray shingles measure the stony weather, its bleaching architecture. The white shed vanishes and vanishes. A sign above the avenue is blank. A window pulls the dark across its pane. A single figure leans beneath the sign. Everyone who should be here is gone. The cobbles bear our shadows down the lane. The gray walls grind the coruscating moon. Something else was written on the sign. Everyone who should be here is gone. Moonlight pools beneath the figure's robes. The avenue keeps busy with its cracks. The pipes bear out the effluent of hope. Everyone who should be here is gone. A window pulls the dark across its pane. The cobbles bear these shadows down the lane.
How refreshing, how us, to see her where she's least expected, suave davima, beast dominatrix. Except for a mere carnal hint of breast, she's pure idea before this dark-eyed force of shagged gray elephants trumpeting. Oh, that Dior insouciant sash, her bow, arched brows, her sleek coiffed hair, and their lift dance against restraints, their crude chained legs, her little slippers, free, perfected predator, or trapped in our viewing's more subtle chains. I sat in the gallery watching others. After a time at such a show, every sight is a photograph, say of the boy in Met's ball cap before Davima, whose dad turns to whisper some teacherly gender joke in his ear, or the guy who, despite all watchers, full in the midst of this studious room, art or no art, hugs his girl with a hand that keeps straying to her butt. Which of them Davima? Which the elephant? By his strong, bony legs alone, tight-framed, Imogene Cunningham declared him to be, in summary, John Bovington. Elsewhere, she treated a female body as shapes, shadows, revealed as a pattern, calling the study triangles. So, How would you choose one portraying detail? Many might opt for a telling segment of brain or heart, or show lips' lifelong grin, or 10 fingers trained to a difficult art, or an x-ray of the inner ghost through years of unstaunched yearning. A true photograph need not be explained, nor can it be contained in words, wrote Ansel Adams, and who'd ever argue? Oh, true Ansel, painfully true, words, poor words, as with everything, and yet, God light on the aspen. We'll glance away from the figured bloom of cloth and near transparency to meet the gaze of Zaclona's presence, feeling her ease like an inward smile. She evokes the beauty the old poets praised, as in Keats, that she be ever fair through generations of desire. For hers is the body of our passing, a frail container for spirit wind, as invisible breath fills the silk lantern with surge of ruach, God's forming word that dwelt on the waters of origin. These squat, thick pillars must have encouraged the people of Trimmel Nyack to bow before the king's seat of Trimmel. Not that there isn't ample head space in his monumental assembly room, but weight bends us down till we're set in stone. Yet even such heaviness pleasures us now, what with our speed, our so light speed, our striding by and passing. Two men side by side in two Chinatown doorways. One with a settled patience like a Buddha's calm. The other furtive, lost in anxiety, glancing away. They might have been brothers, as likely are the two racetrack goers close together, calculating odds. If one would only move his hand a bit, their mouths could be compared. But no, he cannot, will not ever now. Each studied stone, each massive wave, identical and different, as all of us forever remain, so differently the same.
The mechanics of immortality arrive. 3 rubber feet brace against a hardwood floor. The photographer, she's here, ma'am.
Victorian thought at a life store's sill. Whatever I'm fated to do, I'll do well. Shadow of fear in her eyes, she'd conquer by pluck. A mother's miracle.
Where did you leave your hairbrush? It's a constant battle, this curl.
After the flash and Sunday close, the hands that wash you in platinum will hang you like laundry to dry.
Let's not see you clutching your hem, dear. Your daughters will think you a nervous child.
Where will you go? The white angel queries. The nights will be cold, and you're such a young girl. Where will you go, and what will you do, and who will protect you?
I have my belt buckle and black leather shoes. I'll go through that door frame. I'll make my own world.
Yes, now there will be a bright flash, ladies.
Out of these cold days you make your warm world. What takes you from the doorway will take you back. My hand on your shoulder, the burden you carry. My hand, the shadow you walk into sunlight. My whisper, a flower reseeding itself.
Yes, now, on 3. 1, 2, beautiful.